What is up, everybody? I'm NoLucksGiven here with your afternoon snap, and today we have got the new developer update video for the April 2025 What If Marvel Snap season. So just like I always do, I'm going to break down all of the new cards coming into Marvel Snap and talk about which ones are worth spending your in-game resources on. But before we do that, there is a huge overhaul to the in-game resource system that we kind of have to break down so we can know really what we're spending before we decide what we're spending it on. So let's take a look at that here. We are getting snap packs. This is a blog. I'll leave a link for that in the video description as well. And there are some, basically, it's the title thumbnail of this video, Sayonara Spotlight Keys. We now have snap packs, and maybe I could have done the meme where, never mind. So we are excited to introduce snap packs, a major upgrade to how you unlock new cards and build your collection. I'm gonna make myself a little bit bigger here as well. Is that too big? That's fine. It's fine. Whether you're a new player trying to catch up, a returning player who missed a few seasons, or a dedicated veteran chasing every new release, this system is designed with you in mind. And that is a really interesting kind of dilemma for the Marvel Snap team, because they really needed to try to come up with a fix to the economy that served not just these three buckets of players, but every gradient on the spectrums in between, because there's various levels of dedicated veterans. I'm a dedicated Marvel Snap veteran. How is this going to serve me? And how is this system going to serve a dedicated Marvel Snap veteran that has spent hundreds or thousands of dollars even on the game? And how is this going to reward and incentivize spending each of those players in separate ways? Same thing, new players. Well, a new player could be somebody that has played the game a little bit over the past 2 months. It could be somebody that's played the game for a little bit over the past 6 months, and both of those could be new in different capacities. And then of course, returning players, there's any possible situation with that. We're aiming to launch snap packs in the April 29th or June 3rd patch, which is kind of interesting. We could get snap packs at the end of this season, or we might still have to wait basically 2 more seasons for them. It's really only like 1 additional season. We're either going to get them the end of this season or the beginning of 3 seasons from now. So either 1 season away almost, or 3 seasons away. And this date could move depending on other testing variables, how much they've figured everything out, and how the tech is looking. But I think that something interesting about how this system is going to work is it is going to be a little bit retroactive. If we skip ahead a little bit, I'm going to jump the gun. The new Series 5 packs look at 1 previous season. The new Series 4 packs look at 2 previous seasons, which means even if we don't get snap packs this season, the in-game economy decisions that you make this season will still have influence on how you're able to interact with the economy going forward. And then of course there's also the fact that any keys that you save will get turned into tokens. Ben mentions that in the season video. We can see that 3,000 tokens will be the rate that Spotlight keys convert into. So what all is coming? We have the token shop becoming a dedicated card shop, and there's going to be 4 different things that you can find in that. The first is snap packs, and this the first is snap packs. Really, the first 5 things, first 5 things are snap packs, because there's 5 different types of snap packs available. But the important thing here is each guarantees 1 unowned cards. So you won't have to worry about just opening up a duplicate and then it converting into tokens. It will always contain an unowned card, and if there are no unowned cards for that particular type of snap pack, the game just won't let you open that type of pack. So no duplicates, no chance to get screwed over, and it will also include 2 bonus rewards. These can be additional cards. I'll come right back to that. Variants, cosmetics, or currencies like tokens, boosters, and credits. And there might be some other random things that they could throw in there. Different, you got borders, variants, avatars, things like that. The cards is really interesting. And I'll say don't get like super excited over the fact that snap packs can offer additional cards, and also odds will vary. This, I think, is a really important. So the 2 biggest considerations in how we're going to evaluate snap packs are going to be what do they cost and what are the odds of these bonus rewards that you got coming with them. So I think that like most of the time they're kind of burying this, but like most of the time you're probably going to get boosters, and I'm really hoping that they post the rates to these things. One feedback that I had for them before launching this was make sure that players feel like there is basically, I don't know, like not that much expectation, but still have the ability to build in some fun moments. And I think that they're potentially asking for a little bit of trouble here listing additional cards first. I think they probably should have listed boosters first, because that's what I would expect to be opening up most of the time. I'm opening up snap packs in addition to my 1 unowned card. I mean, they did lead with this, right? But then with the bonus rewards, they led with additional cards. I'm just bringing this up to say, don't expect to get additional unowned cards in your snap packs with, depending on what kind of stuff you're buying. There's going to be a lot of different types of snap packs potentially in the future as well. And the other thing that I wanted to bring up about this odds will vary. I could very well see a situation where, based off what bucket of player you are, that could affect your odds. We could see still something that has an effect that sort of feels like when you hit that duplicate and then just get 1,000 or 2,000 tokens, that could wind up happening for players that already have a more filled out collection. But if they use this, and this is why like framing is important. I wouldn't think about it as like, oh, I got the dupe bust, bummer. I would think about it as this is an additional potential valve that they can tweak to allow new returning players to catch up. But you might not be able to always expect the highest amount of value out of that. So your mileage may vary as we get more details with this, as they refine it and release more information / it's data mineable. I'll be back here and breaking down exactly what is going to be good and bad about this system. We also have spotlight cards and rotating pinnable cards, just like how the system currently works. I do think that there are some interesting aspects of this. It doesn't mention ultimate variants here. I don't know if that means ultimate variants are going away. I've asked, I have not received an answer yet. I wouldn't look into that. It could just be not something that they're really talking about here. One thing that is interesting about rotating pinnable cards and spotlight cards, currently new season pass cards are basically series 6 cards for a month. It's impossible to get them in the rotating pinnable card shop, and I imagine that's probably going to remain the case just because that's how they make a decent amount of money, selling an exclusive card for $10 each month, and I don't think they're going to deviate from that. There is some interesting stuff here because they are planning on releasing more cards, and so the rotating section of the shop might be a little bit harder to find exactly what you're looking for, which has always been a little bit of an awkward part of it, but they're also trying to get you to log in and engage with this shop every day. So not sure how that is ultimately going to shake out, especially we're going to get to this, but they're going to start releasing more cards each season. We are also getting free daily tokens, log in and redeem every day. So that'll be similar to anybody that buys the gold pass, or just when you go to the shop and claim your 25 free credits every 8 hours. There'll be some free daily tokens for you. There's really two different aspects of this new economy, other than snap packs, but snap packs are a part of this. So the first thing is everybody's going to be getting more tokens. We're going to be getting more tokens because Spotlight keys were not tokens, but just more tokens in general. But also your tokens are going to be better than they were before. And I'm kind of reading in between the lines here a little bit. We'll get into this more when I break down the specifics of the different types of snap packs. And basically, the snap packs are probably going to, like currently Series 5 cards are 6,000 tokens. Snap packs have to be less than that for them to make sense. So you're actually getting more value out of your tokens, especially players that are staying collection complete or near collection complete are actually going to get better consistent value for the cards that they're buying. So there are some interesting incentives there for staying up to date with your collection. And then the other thing here is token packs. The game is just going full all in and allowing you to basically just straight up buy cards, because now you can purchase tokens right from the card shop with gold, which, so there's kind of like, I feel like I'm going to say the word conflicting. How many times have I said conflicting already? And let me know in the comments down below and total it up at the end of the video. But there's some, or maybe like interesting, I don't know. I'm saying a lot of like filler words here because there's a lot of really dynamic systems in play, even still within this new system. So when the game was like first coming out, it was mentioned, you know, what if you couldn't just unlock every new card or all the cards right away, is actually what the claim was, and that was like a good thing for the game, which I think players kind of pushed back on. And in the current system with Spotlight caches, you could like possibly technically unlock everything if you spent a ridiculous amount of money, but realistically what would happen is you would wind up bankrupting yourself, and then also having a ridiculous amount of Spotlight keys and nothing to spend them on, because with Spotlight keys you need to wait until the different cash rotation each week for the cards that you want to show up to even use these resources. Well, now there is just a default resource that can be spent more easily on non-current cards. And if you're able to just dump money into this type of currency, and there could be a limit on it, you might there's a limit to how much gold you can turn into credits each day. I could see something similar here. It's not out of the question, but now we are going to have just more ways to, I guess, like, because I've seen screenshots of people that have like ridiculous amounts of Spotlight keys because they just buy a bunch of stuff, and these players aren't typically ones that are lacking necessarily for these are players with like pretty robust collections, but still it's awkward that there are players that just have a bunch of Spotlight keys, and there were also a bunch of players that had a bunch of tokens and nothing to really spend them on. And in the same way that serving me as a pretty dedicated player, I think it's also important to serve those types of players as well. Here's the problems with the current system. That's basically what I was just talking about. Right now, getting the cards you want in Marvel Snap can feel frustrating. Returning players missed multiple seasons, find themselves way behind. People are going to stop playing, and the current system really encourages you to keep playing, which is fine because the game is fun, but it's also not the healthiest thing in the world, if we're being honest, and players should be able to take breaks from games that they just want to take a break on and be able to jump back in and not feel like it is impossible to catch up with no real end goal in sight, I would say too. New players, that's like the biggest thing in Marvel Snap, is that I feel like way more than spending money is spending time. Continuing to play the game is actually so much better for your collection. People always joke about like, oh, the credit card is the best card, and that's a joke that exists with all collectible card games, right? But Marvel Snap, I don't really, as a player that was free to play up until this calendar year, for those that don't know this, I've been playing Marvel Snap since the closed beta, so I've got a pretty robust collection, but I was totally free to play up until 2025, where I decided to start buying the $10 season passes, just so that way I would have a little bit more resources to create some content in the game as a content creator. And that, that aside, I was never like struggling for having a bunch of cards in my collection, and I'm only missing 11 cards currently in my collection, and most of those were cards that I like deliberately decided to skip. I could have got them if I really wanted to, but I decided to skip them for, whatever reasons, to conserve my resources and stuff. And all of that is to say, I was able to do that because I played and I really enjoyed playing Marvel Snap, but I think the biggest resource that you put into the game was time, and that means that if you take a break, it's just that much harder to catch up, especially, that's also kind of the reason that I quit Pokemon Go. It became less about like how you played and what you did in the game, and just became about like, oh, well, like, do you have that Pokemon? Well, did you play on March 3rd when that Pokemon was everywhere? Well, then you have it. And if you didn't play on exactly March 3rd, then you just don't have that Pokemon. And it's just, wasn't really my bag necessarily, and all of the exclusivity and stuff like that kind of just makes you feel like burnt out, right? Because then you're playing just to stay up to date. You're not really even playing because you enjoy what you're doing. I enjoy what I'm doing when I play Marvel Snap, which is why I'm still playing it, but that's not going to be the same case for everybody, right? And it's really awkward that if players feel like they need to play the game so that they can like potentially play the game, then they're not really playing the game, they're just playing themselves, right? So I think that not punishing players that take breaks, allowing players to take breaks and then potentially get back into it with spending a little money or something like that is a much better system. New players struggle to catch up and play popular decks. So this is going to be something that I think they will have to continue to work on, because with this system, I still don't exactly see, with what they've laid out for us here, exactly how this serves new players. And new players might not realize this, but the Spotlight Cash system was pretty good for them. However, there were also a lot of dials in it that I didn't like, because all of the cards that were rotating into Spotlight Caches were controlled by Second Dinner, and players didn't have any agency. If there were cards they were looking to build up their collection with, they were basically just stuck with whatever Second Dinner was offering. And sometimes there were weird things, like when Spotlight Caches first came out, I think there were, so I can't remember everything and the full timeline of what's happened, but it certainly felt like for a while Thanos and Galactus were just like in at least like once a month we were getting Thanos and Galactus, and that's when there wasn't like that big of a backlog of other potential cards. I feel like Null is another one that they kept in, like they didn't drop it in series for a while. That was definitely a notable part of the card, but also they just like, it kept coming back into Spotlight Caches with different variants, to the point where like, okay, if you're a new player, sure, you can get Null, but how easy is it for you to get X-23? And there's not much that you can do with Null if you can't complete the deck around it. I talked with Second Dinner about that specifically, and part of what we will see with Snap Packs, it's kind of an idea that I had, and I've brought this up on the channel before, but basically a way to sort of go for collections of cards. The Marvel Snap system has these series, right? Series 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but Series 3 cards don't mechanically have any synergy with each other, nor do Series 5 cards necessarily, right? Apparently Season Pass cards do. You can just put all the Season Pass cards in a deck, and that'll have enough synergy to get you through. But basically like a Snap Pack, as we're going to see it, that just gives you Silver Surfer cards that are really good in that strategy, or just gives you Scream related cards. Stuff like that, I think, is a really nice opportunity to provide new players with a viable, popular, competitive deck at a reasonable entry point. It doesn't have to be the perfect deck, and it doesn't even have to be a tier 1 deck. But imagine, like, if you're a struggling new player, you can either try to piece together something with the spotlight caches that are available this month, or what if the alternative is like, I'm going to let you build Shuri Sauron. Shuri Sauron, not the best deck. I have not played that deck in a while. I don't know if it's good or not, to be totally honest, but I think it's a fine example because a good, like, finely tuned Shuri Sauron deck could be better than like a hodgepodge of a different strategy. Now, I don't actually know if that's true. I think that Marvel Snap does have a lot of room for experimentation, and there is potential that like a bad Silver Surfer deck and an unoptimal Silver Surfer deck is still better than the best Shuri Sauron deck, but it's an interesting angle to explore, right? And Silver Surfer is not something that has to be like extremely cost prohibitive either. So there is an option there for new players potentially in the future. And then also veteran players have a problem with the current system because they often have to rely on luck with spotlight caches, which can lead to duplicate cards and wasted rewards. And this can lead to some feel bad moments. Honestly, I mean, this is still going to be somewhat a part of the new system, but the new system makes it feel like a reward for having more cards in interesting ways that I think is cool. And yeah, they're just having like so much variance, and I think a lot of players didn't understand all of the variance in the Spotlight Cache system in a way that they couldn't feel as excited about the high rolls as they felt disappointed with the low rolls, if that makes sense. And I definitely think this... So the first thing that comes to my mind is just all of the players that will, because this is saying veteran players, there is a larger group of players than anyone would probably like to admit, and this might be you. I might be about to insult you right now if you are a player that would open up spotlight caches when you did not have 4 spotlight keys for the week. If you are low on spotlight caches, you might not be a veteran player. Jeff Foxworthy reference there, but I think that there were a lot of players that, because it was pretty obtuse, it was pretty hard to figure out exactly how, and I've brought this up in a number of my previous videos, how you were supposed to interact with the previous system, especially if you were not a high spending player, is basically target 1 or 2 cards in a given season, depending on your resources, and save and make sure that you had the resources to completely go for that week's worth of cards. And it's not how a lot of players approached it. You're not going to be able to get every card in the game without spending, probably, but there are, I think it's going to be a cleaner system that honestly will probably be mathematically worse for some groups of players, depending on how all of the math breaks out, but it's going to feel better, I think, and have less RNG, which I think will, and it'll also just be simpler too, which probably means that players that weren't taking advantage of the previous systems as efficiently will have an easier time understanding this new system and how to take advantage of it. So I think that is, even though this is like the veteran players section, I think there were a lot of veteran players that still struggled with this aspect. So we have Snap Packs to the rescue, which address these problems with greater control over the cards you earn, catch up faster and cheaper, and a smoother collection journey. Let's dive into each of these areas. Greater control over the cards that you earn. They do that with Snap Packs, helping you choose cards you want by offering different types of packs that each contain separate pools of cards. And there are 5 different Snap Packs coming at launch. New Series 5, New Series 4, Collector 3, 4, and 5. Those are 3 separate things. Each pack has its own separate pool, so there's no way to open up new cards in the Collector's pack. This one contains all cards not included in the series packs above. And these are slightly different and have interesting things here. And this is where I'll break down some of the potential math that I potentially see coming with this feature. So new Series 5 packs, probably, if I'm just going to make a guess, I'm going to guess they're going to cost 5,000 tokens. They could cost less, but I think they could cost more even too. I think they're going to cost 5,000 tokens, and they will give you a random Series 5 card from this season or the previous season. And where that gets really interesting is I brought up Series 6, the Season Pass card. Season Pass cards might now have just gotten cheaper because on the first day of the next season, you might be able to buy them in Series 5 packs immediately, which is pretty interesting. And you will have to roll a 50-50 with the newest card, but assuming that the newest card coming is also something that you want, then that is not really going to be a risk. You just spend 10,000 and you get both of them. And that could be an angle that you play for there, or you could just wind up still spending 6K. So Series 4 cards are typically worth 3K tokens. So a new Series 4 pack, we might see this as cheap as 2K tokens? I'm not sure. Like, if we were to just break it all down, I would assume that potentially we are going to see this is 5,000, this is 4,000, this is 2,000, with Series 4 cards typically being worth 3,000. This would then potentially be 1,000, and this would be 500 because typical Series 3 cards are 1,000 just by themselves. Taking a lot of guesses here, and we don't know what the other, like, the way that you can also balance these things is this could be 5,500, but has a really good chance of just giving you back 500 tokens with it. So a lot of weird math, like I said, potentially still obscuring this. What are these actually doing then for most users? So the way that a lot of players will interact with Series 5 cards is you're going to be getting about, well, let's round up. Let's say that you wind up getting about 1,600, no, not 1,600, 16,000, yeah, 16,000 tokens each season, give or take. That would be enough for 2 Series 5 cards, 2 Series 4 cards. And that is if you're putting like all of your resources towards farming up those tokens, you're opening up all of your collectors' caches and claiming your daily rewards each day, using like your season pass gold that you get off the free track or the paid track, whatever, potentially even like other things, but you're putting all of these towards card acquisition and tokens through the token shop. Let's put it at 16,000, right? So your options with that are then either to so there's like a few things going on, but let's say like option 1 is to buy 2 of the new Series 5 cards, not through packs, but just through buying them for 6,000 tokens each. That will cost 12,000 and allow you to pick up the 2 that you want. The other thing that you can do is you could instead roll for 2 Series 5 packs, and where this gets interesting is the order in which cards are released does have some really big importance, because say you got everything from last season, which is kind of like a specific example, but now, or let's say you didn't get everything from last season. Let's say you got 2 of the cards from last season. There's 3 cards from last season in the series pack, and then 2 cards from, I'm sorry, not 2 cards from this season. Let's say so where are we right now? We're moving into April. So let's say this season, March. In March, you bought 3 of the 5 Series 5 cards. I don't know how many Series 5 cards actually released in March. Let's say there were 5. Let's say you bought 2 of them, leaving 3 remaining Series 5 cards in potential new Series 5 packs. The next season rolls around, there is now 1 additional card, so you could open up a Series 5 pack for a 1 in 4 chance. Yeah, it starts to look a little bit awkward. Where this becomes a good incentive for players is players that are staying caught up. If you have all of the cards from last season, then you can continue to get every new card for just 5,000 or whatever it's going to wind up being. So that is where like the incentive with this is really coming from. And then the new Series 4 packs, well, you might be thinking, how many Series 4 cards do they typically even release in a season? And you're going to think the answer is not many. However, I think we're going to start to see this is where a lot more cards are released into the game. And I would expect that in addition to the same number of Series 5 cards that we've been seeing, we might see 1 additional, but I think we're mostly going to see about 3 Series 4 cards a season, maybe more. I think that they do say something somewhere. It doesn't say, maybe it said in the video how many cards to expect each season, because I feel like that's in the back of my mind from somewhere. And so here's how I would look at the new Series 4 packs potentially. We just had 3 cards released to Series 4 with Sanctum Showdown mode. We had Laufey, Gorgon, and Uncle Ben, right? So imagine that all 3 of those cards came to Series 4 packs. So you could either, and there was no other way to earn them in this hypothetical example. So you could either buy the specific one that you wanted for 3,000 tokens if you just wanted Gorgon or just wanted Uncle Ben, or you could spend 6,000 and get all 3 for 2,000 a pop, basically, with the numbers that I am totally making up. To be totally clear, these are just where I think things might fall or around there, and you'll have to redo the math for each of those things accordingly. Or you could eschew both of those options entirely and wait for these cards to drop down into collector's packs. So if collector's Series 4 packs are 1,000, then instead of getting Uncle Ben, Laufey, and Gorgon this month, in 3 months, you spend those same 3,000 tokens and get all 3 of them. And these are, I think, the decisions that this system is supposed to make you think about. Is how much do I care about this new release specifically versus how much do I care about just getting cards? And as a new or returning player, this is where the system allows you to catch up, because you might not care. You might be missing so many cards that you just want some cards. You're just going to be popping open collector's packs, and it's probably still not Series 3 collector's packs. It could be Series 4, but if Series 5 is a good enough rate and still has some fantastic cards, like it's not like they're dropping a bunch of these cards, we're going to see how series drops also impact all of these decisions, but you could very easily, I could see like just rolling a bunch of Series 5 packs, maybe getting some bonuses in there occasionally, especially if you are a player with a lower collection level and that's weighted higher for you. And then trying to fill out, like you just open up a bunch of stuff, see what decks you get close to. Like let's say you randomly get a Scream in your Series 5 collector's packs. Well, then you're going to be looking for Cannonball, or I don't know if the deck plays Agamotto. It might, but you're going to be looking for Cannonball, for instance, to fill out your Scream deck. So I think that that is how this is kind of designed to really actually fill a bunch of different needs in interesting ways, because for veteran players, it actually provides a discount and encourages you to stay collection complete to continue to get that discount, because every card that comes out, imagining again that these cost 5,000, every card is going to cost you 5,000, while other players it's going to cost them 6,000. So you are getting a discount just for staying collection complete, or nearly collection complete over the previous seasons. And there might be times where some players, like you might notice that you are like very close to being collection complete, and it is worth the risk for you. I'm trying to think of like what are some cards that came out recently. Let's just imagine, so I can just think of the Marvel Rivals season off the top of my head, and let's imagine that, and that's also when I started picking up like most cards that were coming into the game, though it was really in January when I made the switch and just started to pick up every card. So yeah, let's say in January, or no, I'm going to stick to Marvel Rivals. I believe that Doom 2099 was towards the end of that season, and I had already skipped on Luna Snow and actually didn't skip on Bruce, but like I should have skipped on Bruce. I just bought it because I thought it would be cute for content. But when Doom 2099 rolls around, then I have the decision, oh, do I want to just spend 6,000 tokens and definitely get Doom 2099, or is it worth the 50-50 to me, where I'm gonna, and I would, here's where people are gonna get stuck still, and I can already see it happening. Somebody has 5,000 tokens, they say, I'm not gonna get another 1,000 tokens before the end of the week. Do I roll the 50-50 on the Doom 2099 and risk getting Luna Snow, and then I've got no hope to get Doom 2099? And it also only gets like harder to do that because more cards are going to get released and clog up the packs. So I think that there's still like some awkward incentives here, but I think that overall, I don't know if I fully made every point that I wanted to make, to be totally honest. It's pretty late at this point, but I think that this is certainly, it's rewarding some different things, but it's also rewarding some similar things to the current system as it exists. And I think that there's ways to low roll with it. And yeah, I guess I can't really say more other than we'll see. Let's continue reading, because I'm curious what else they have to say here. I don't even think I read any of this part, but not only can you target older or lower series cards, but they'll be cheaper than buying individual cards. Gone are the days of just missing out on a spotlight card. No longer can you target older or lower series cards, but they'll be cheaper than buying individual cards. It says target. I think it just means, I don't think they mean to use the word target there. Gone are the days of missing out on a spotlight card from the previous week and being filled with regret. I do like that part, that series packs give you sort of some leeway in order to stretch back in time. And not necessarily make up your mind immediately during that week if you definitely want something or don't want it. New series packs will also be cheaper than, did I see that? Yeah, try to grab the one that you're looking for. Cheaper than just buying a featured Spotlight card directly. If you have all of the cards from the current and previous seasons, the newest Spotlight card will always be an automatic pull and at a discount, right? Collector's packs available for Series 3, 4, and 5 cards will be priced at a significant discount compared to waiting for them to pop up in your token shop individually. This allows new or returning players to catch up faster and for less. Yeah, basically everything that I've already said. Token packs are also being introduced, allowing players, if they so choose, to purchase tokens for gold directly from the card shop. Players can then catch up as fast as they want without having to wait for daily rotations or Spotlight caches. Okay, I covered all this, figured that out myself. Bye-bye Spotlight Cache, hello tokens. The Spotlight Cache system is being retired with this update. All of your existing Spotlight keys will automatically be converted into tokens at 3K a pop. That means you can dive right into the new system with a solid token stash. This, I mean, it's good. I feel like this is a no-brainer. If they did this any other way, it wouldn't really make any sense to me. But where you use to receive Spotlight keys on your collection track, you will now earn 3K tokens instead, keeping your card acquisition flow steady. Previously, Spotlight keys and tokens were only available to be used on predetermined cards that were available in Spotlight caches or random ones rotating in Spotlights. There's no, I mean, it still says pinnable rotating cards though, right? They're making it sound like you can target things easier. Now you can use your hard-earned token, which I think it's going to be still the same. You're just getting more tokens, which have higher agency in how you spend them. Your hard-earned tokens to buy new and old cards from any series you want at any time. Huh. The changes that Snap Packs are bringing are entirely additive. A new player's journey of earning cards as you play isn't going away. You'll continue to earn Series 3 cards as you progress through the collection level track. That's good news. I also think, again, a no-brainer. The point of this is to help new players catch up to some extent. And the thing is, it's not only to help them catch up, but it's to make it seem more attainable, because it's kind of crazy to like have somebody come into a game and say like, oh, you want that card? I mean, like, whatever, sure, I don't care. There's no way you can, like, I don't care that you want that card. And now just like giving the players a little bit more agency will help, I think, encourage players to like stay with the game and potentially spend with the game. So there is some more, and we did already talk about this as well. Alongside the improved Snap Pack system, Marvel Snap is going to release more cards every season. You'll be able to grab new cards faster and experiment with more decks right away. And I do think that this is true. There's going to be more tokens in the game. The tokens are going to do more. And there's always an interesting, so this is kind of like an old thing. Would you rather more cards be in the game? So let's just break it down like this. Let's say, here's the options. You can have 2 cards released I'm not sure what numbers I should go with, is basically what I'm thinking about. But which would you rather have? Okay, here's how to do it. 5 cards are released each season, and you can have 3 of them. Or 10 cards are released each season, and you can have 7 of them. So in one, you are getting more cards, and you're even getting a higher percentage of the cards. It seems pretty good. You're getting 3 cards versus getting 7 cards. However, and here is the pessimistic way to look at it, in the system where there's 5 cards coming out, you are only missing out on 2 of them. In the system where there's 10 cards coming out, you're missing out on 3 of them. Now, where that gets to be even better is we have more choice over the cards that we are actually getting. So more cards is probably even better, but I do understand there's a little bit of reservation here. More cards coming out means there are going to be more cards that you don't have. I'm currently missing 11 cards in Marvel Snap, And that's the closest that I've ever been to being collection complete. Depending on how many Spotlight caches I open up this season, I will, like, if I buy every new card that comes out this season, I could stay at 11. I can actually get down to 9 because there's some cards that I still don't have coming in Spotlight caches later on this season. I might wind up not getting everything and just waiting a little bit because I might just decide to get some things when this snap packs come out. That might be an angle that I take. I think that this video is already probably long enough that I'm not really going to go into... I'll go into it a little bit. So we can go over the new cards. I think the big thing with this season is just like looking at this. Where are we? The Spotlight cache schedule for the season. Here we go. And this is also incomplete. The final card coming out this season, which is Hydra Stomper, does have data mined Spotlight caches. Oh, I'm blocking US Agent here a little bit. I'll make myself even smaller. That's fine. Hello. Hydra Stomper doesn't have planned Spotlight caches, but it might still wind up having Spotlight caches depending on whether or not, I feel like I should be talking in a higher pitched voice, but it depends on when they actually wind up releasing snap packs, because snap packs might not come out till June, at which point there's actually a really good week of Spotlight caches alongside Hydra Stomper. Maybe that's something that I'll talk about as well. So here is the interesting thing to me. Basically, if you haven't really broken down the math, so I own Cersei, Gwenpool, Cole, Hydra Bob, Pixie, and Cannonball. So all of these 3 weeks I would just be pooling for the new card, and new cards cost an average of 2.5 Spotlight keys. There's a little bit of a rebate that you get because you can open up and find 1,000 tokens. So it's not that they are that expensive, but basically 2.5 keys are going to eventually convert into about, we'll just say 6,000 to call it even, which means I am not helping myself by getting these cards immediately. It would actually make more sense, unless I really want to play with Goliath, Kahori, or Infinity Ultron. It actually makes more sense for me to, if I want to like stay collection complete, to just wait until all of these cards are available in snap packs and then buy them up like that. Now, what's tricky is we don't actually know when snap packs are coming, so we are in a little bit of this limbo that probably means I will consider just grabbing Goliath and Kahori and Infinity Ultron. Strange Supreme is an interesting send-off for me for Spotlight caches because I actually do not own any of these cards. I do think that Strange Supreme is the worst card among the new releases this season, but I might just spend some Spotlight keys and just open up all 3 of these because this is a cool opportunity, a cool send-off, and I do believe that will still be a better rate for me. And that is where there is some other interesting tension with this system. The fact that players will no longer be able to do that, to have weeks that are really good for them because they held off on previous weeks, will make it harder, will mean that just like your resources don't go as far. So I'm curious how that will all impact it if we want to. So just like a real quick review of the new cards coming out this season. Let's see if we can get through it. Our season pass card, Captain Carter. I can make myself a little bit bigger here for sure. She seems good. She seems very good. This is the season pass card, so you're either buying it for $10 or maybe I'll just be able to wait and buy it for 5,000 tokens along with all of the other cards in Snap Pack. So might be an option that I decide to go for, actually, and we'll see how that winds up working out. But Captain Carter is really, really good with Captain America and other ways to pump up its power, even things like Forge or Gwenpool and Galacta, though then you're playing a lot of 4s. But I mean, you could play Zabu and you could play one of those cards into this one. I think that this card is pretty sweet. You are basically looking like, I mean, you have to fill the location, but if you manage to fill the location, you're looking at a 4/9, which is a pretty good rate if it's able to pump up both of the other cards on it. And the fact that when you pump it up, any pump that you put on this, assuming again that you're able to fill the location, but there's lots of ways to fill locations in Marvel Snap, any pump that you put on it is not doubled but tripled, which means we got a brood here. We got a brood over here. And yeah, like Captain Carter plus brood into Nidavellir, just to do some quick calculation. It's 2 points. Captain Carter will be giving +8 to 2 of those broods. So each brood will be 7, she will be 8, and then she will give you another 16 points. So all of that is just really cool. There's not many triple dips that you get in Marvel Snap. There are double dips that you can use additional effects on to double them again. I'm thinking like any pumps that you put on Black Panther can then get additionally pumped up with Arnim Zola or Odin, that sort of thing. But Captain Carter's a triple dip, and she is a triple dip that actually synergizes with even more things, unlike Black Panther. Still somewhat similar to Brood in terms of like Nidavellir or something like that. She will be able to grab even more power out of something like a Blue Marvel, Captain America. I'm mostly thinking of ongoing abilities at the top of my mind, but I think there's going to be a lot of different ways to play this card. So I think this is going to be an exciting one. Now, okay, I think that there's actually something that they did not announce in this video. And so it's not something that I can talk about, is what game mode is coming in this season. Do they talk about it? No, wait, they had to. Is there not a new card with a new game mode coming out? Maybe they didn't want to bury the lead with all of this what if stuff happening. Hydra Stomper. Hydra Stomper's not coming in a new game mode, right? Oh, Strange Supreme definitely is, right? Sorry. Let's get in here. I just don't want to spoil things that I'm not supposed to. But they've been doing a game mode every season in the most recent seasons. No, we already know this is coming in Spotlight Caches. That's shown right here. Okay, so I'm just going to say that we don't know what the... That's awkward. Sure. We don't know what the game mode is coming this season. If it is a game mode that, like if we have Deadpool's Diner or Sanctum Showdown, that could make you more likely to want to spend for Captain Carter, so that way you can more easily progress through that mode, because it does seem like this is going to be a good card. Triple Dip seems like a good card to me. Let's move along though into our second new card here, which is Goliath, a 2/1 that has ongoing +1 power for each other ongoing card you have in play. And there's two main synergies that jump to the front of my mind with Goliath. The first was mentioned in this video. Sam Wilson, Captain America, the other captain that isn't Captain Carter and isn't Captain America, but because Sam Wilson starts with the shield in play, that just immediately starts with Goliath having 1 extra power. Other than that, the next best things that you can do are try to curve out while playing multiple ongoing cards, like playing a 3 and 2 cost ongoing card on turn 5, probably not multiple on turn 6, or potentially 2-cost ongoing cards on turn 4. Goliath potentially being one of them, because Sam Wilson's going to still be better as your turn 2 play. The other thing that you can do is play a turn 4 Doom 2099 and then play 1 card on turns 5 and 6. That's another way to cheat a few more ongoing cards onto the field. So if we take a look at both of those curves, let's imagine in either scenario we've got a Sam Wilson shield. On turn 2 we play something, on turn 3 we play something, on turn 4 we either play 2 things. All right, so here's where we're gonna have to split up. These are the 2 what if scenarios. The first what if is we play Doom 2099. That gets us up to 4. The other scenario is we play 2 different 2-cost cards. Did I mention playing a 1-cost card on the first turn? No. So, okay. One hand we're at 5, the other hand we're at 6. In the Doom scenario, we play another card on turn 5. That gives us 2 more ongoing cards. The one that we play a Blue Marvel, and then we get a Doom bot. In the other scenario, we just play 2. And then, yeah, okay. So either way, then we play a Spectrum or Doom on the final turn. In this scenario, we also play a Spectrum or Doom on the final turn, but in this one, we get an additional Doombot. All of this is to say, in the ideal curve, we are looking at, and both of those curves can be ideal curves that exist within the same deck and give you some flexibility, but I just described a 2-9. That is pretty good. That is just, it's better than Dazzler, and there's some flexibility, I guess, with whether or not you hit the Ant-Man on turn 1 to reliably do that, because you don't want to commit too many resources to doing that. But a 2-8, yeah, people play Dazzler, and how much different is this going to be than that? I think that this is going to be good in that Spectrum ongoing deck, and I guess a question will be, does Captain Carter encourage you to deviate enough from those 2 curves that are the typical current curves that I just listed? Does Captain Carter encourage you to deviate enough that Goliath is then not as enticing because it's like a 2-6 or something? And I still think, I brought up Dazzler. I'm thinking Dazzler is certainly better with Captain Carter because you're always going to fill at least 1 location with Captain Carter. But I think you'll want to play both so that you could play 2 ongoing 2-cost cards on turn 4 and potentially play another one alongside a 3-cost card on turn 5. So all of those things, I think, point to Goliath being a pretty reasonable card. I think the question will be, how much do people commit to Captain Carter in different shells that don't really seem to look like the ongoing list that we're currently looking at? And are those just better options for very similar things? But I think, especially if you're not going to get the season pass card, I don't know, Goliath seems like definitely a standout card to me. So I think for right now, it is the top card, but only because we've only looked at 1 card and I'm not counting Captain Carter. Captain Carter would be the top card. This would be the top card that doesn't cost you $10. Next up, we have Kahori, which I think is a really great example of a card that you might not initially pick up and then decide that you want later. Because Kahori, I think, is really tough to evaluate because she's asking for something that we haven't really asked for in a little bit in Marvel Snap, which is counting cards in your hand. And there's Devil Dinosaur. That was a classic card back in the beta, but it has not really been competitive in since the beta, I don't think. And I don't think that there's anything else that's really cared about the number of cards in your hand. In fact, it's the opposite. You want to play the cards that are in your hand. But Kahori allows you to get the benefit of what Devil Dinosaur is trying to do, which is have a bunch of cards in your hand, then you still have 2 turns to try to dump all of those cards. So this one I think is really tough to evaluate. They do have some clips in this video that we could take a look at and maybe get a little bit inspired. Maybe I should, yeah, I mean, so like there's a full hand, and then she's a force 12 because she gave both of these cards 3 power, and I think it'll just be random how she winds up distributing power here. Though Moon Girl allowing you to double Kahori is pretty cool. It probably didn't need to wave here. Let your opponent play an early Galacta potentially. But yeah, this is a interesting card. My gut is still telling me that this is like not necessarily something that you'll want to do. However, could be an Arishem card. It costs 4, which kind of lends me to believe it's an Arishem card. Nick Fury is also a synergistic card with it that also costs 4. So you could be looking to like, again, Arishem decks will oftentimes have a bunch of cards in their hand, especially the Nick Fury versions. So if you play Kahori and then wind up just like giving your Nick Fury because you haven't played anything else, I'm just thinking of a curve that's like turn 1, maybe some random Arishem. Turns 1 and 2, maybe 1 or 2 random Arishem cards, maybe Iron Patriot, maybe Valentina, and then turn 4 Nick Fury, turn 5 Kahori. That then sets you up for turn 3 Nick Fury, turn 4 Kahori still with an extra energy that you don't wind up using. Turn 5, you then get to start playing the 6 cost cards from Nick Fury. So even though the curve of that is a little bit awkward, wasting an energy, I think it could still be good. You could also use that extra energy to play your 1 cost Iron Patriot card that you won because of playing Nick Fury in your Iron Patriot location. So I don't know. It feels like it's going to inspire new archetypes that aren't that good, and it feels like it's going to be not the best card in Arishem immediately. Those are my immediate reactions. And so here is where like the new acquisition system could potentially start to look really cool. Is this could be a card that you wait until it drops down into the level of snap packs that just become random, and then maybe you decide to pick it up. So like maybe some people, if we're going to go back here, I think that some people, we're going to have players that are collection complete and just open up their snap pack every week. And then there's going to be other players that are collector's packs complete, and they get everything that goes into collector's packs. And then basically what you're doing is every season when all of these cards drop, you then have a bunch of new releases. And honestly, I feel like this might be how I personally engage with this system, just because it is going to be, it means that like as far as my content goes, everything will be really far behind. So that is probably what will push me towards not doing this. But if I was just a player, if I wasn't trying to create fun content here, then what I would very strongly consider doing is not looking at these at all and gobbling up every one of these that I can. And why that is also potentially I said the wrong thing. What is potentially an interesting angle with that is, if that is what I think is the best thing to do, maybe I actually ignore these cards, and maybe I only create content around these because these are actually the exciting cards that a lot of players are getting for the first time. So there will be these like release waves where the best, like the content creators are getting all of like the new cards to make the best current decks and stuff. And some of the highly dedicated top of the ladder board players are playing with these, but then a bunch of other players might not even care about that, because what do you care about the new cards coming to Series 5 if your goal is to just wait until they come into collector's packs anyway? So maybe there is an interesting angle there as a content creator to just focus on what players actually want to know about, which is the cards that are currently coming into collector's packs. All of that is to say, I think Kahori might be a card that I wait till it's in collector's packs to pick up. And again, there's like some weird incentives there. This season, it's going to be a little bit different because we're like half in collector's packs and then half potentially or not half in collector's packs, half in snap packs and then half in spotlight caches. So that could be a little bit weird, but yeah, maybe I will wait a little bit on Kahori. The very least, the game does not punish you for not going for stuff immediately, because you might wind up liking something and then you still have an opportunity to pick it up at a slightly reduced rate and find it reasonably easily. So the next new card here, is this really the next new card? Yeah, okay, there's 4 cards and then one, Infinity Ultron 2, right. So Hydra Stomper, wait, I don't know if these cards are, yeah, they're not in the release order here. This is the release order, and Hydra Stomper is totally separate. So Hydra Stomper, I brought this up earlier, it has a data mined spotlight cache that it could release with Aranya and Madam Web. If you do not have Aranya and Madam Web from her season, this would be an awesome opportunity to pick that up alongside Aranya in spotlight caches and potentially still have that be a cheaper rate than if you were to wait for them to go into the collector's packs. Because I think that spotlight caches where you don't own any of the 3 cards are still a better rate, but it's hard to know because we just don't know what collector's packs are going to cost even. So a little bit of uncertainty here still, but Hydra Stomper has ongoing +1 power for each time one of your cards moved this game. So we can watch this clip as well and see if there's anything cool here. I think that maybe, I don't know, I feel like I had enough to say about Goliath and Kahori that this probably wasn't getting anything. Yeah, Heimdall is the big one. That's really all that they talk about. That's interesting. So Heimdall just is, here is a great card actually. They snuck this one past us. Silk. Silk is, and Hercules too. That's really silly. Okay, they're really going for it here with Hydra Stomper. I don't think you need to play Hercules. However, Hydra Stomper could be a Scream card. No, it's one of your cards moved this game. Still, it's just Spider-Man. No, okay, so it's probably Silk is the best synergy with this, and you can trigger your Silk every single turn if you want it to. You can even, play your Hydra Stomper on your Silk location. There is a chance that, like, if your opponent has priority, you could even, you'd have to have priority. Well, there's different ways to make your opponent potentially move the Silk too. But how does this work? Does a card get tagged as having been a move card? Or we've got to listen to this. So every time Silk moves, we can kind of tell in this second clip. So Hydra Stomper is currently at 5 power. And then 3 more things are going to move. And it goes up to 11? Oh, Monster Metropolis is throwing me off. It's going up to 8. But still, this is good news because Spider-Man is clearly a card that has already moved this game, right? But then it is going to move again and recount for Hydra Stomper. So basically, just to break down exactly what I was looking for, Hydra Stomper either counted every single instance of movement, or it looked at each card and said, did this card move, yes or no? not did this card move and how many times did it move. But it looks like it is asking how many times each card moved, which makes sense with Silk being a card featured with it alongside in this video. Heimdall does seem like a cute interaction as a potential way to get a bunch of power out of this. However, I don't think that's going to be necessary. I think that just with a Silk, if you're able to move Silk on turns 3, 4, 5, and 6, then you're looking at a 3-6 like minimum, and it's still with Silk, but you can also put other move cards in your deck. You can have Spider-Man. I'm sure you can figure out some other things that work with this, and even like a Kraven. We could see Rocket and Groot, like just play like good cards. You don't even have to go for Kraven, but we could see sort of like an Elsa move Angela deck, and sometimes those have had Kraven in the past, Jeff, different things like that. I think that even just cards that move one time but are good cards, and then alongside Silk, I think that's an interesting angle. Maybe you do want Heimdall as just like a boom card at the end of the game that then also gives you a big Hydra Stomper. The other option is to play this alongside Madam Web. Would you play Madam Web on turn 2? That gives you 4 moves, 1 on each turn after that. So, you know, it gives it a +4, plus Madam Web's just like a good card. You probably need a little bit more for Madam Web specifically. I do think that this card has a lot of applications and potentially brings some new life to some old archetypes, which is exactly what you're looking for. I think that the rate on it is just good enough. So yeah, where do I put Hydra Stomper? I think that it's worse than Goliath still. I think that I'm still more into Goliath, especially just for like ease of play. I think that if you have an ongoing deck that you've been playing with Sam Wilson, because that's like such a good introductory deck. By that I mean like it has so many cards from the earlier seasons or earlier series. I think that Goliath is still probably going to be the best pickup for most players from this season, but I could certainly see Hydra Stomper being a card that players are excited by. Next is a card that I think a lot of players are really excited for though, and that is Infinity Ultron. So Infinity Ultron is a 5/6 that has on reveal, add 2 Ultron stones to your hand. And there are 6 brand new stones, which interestingly, okay, they messed up. They did not give us the stats for these stones. I will tell you, I think they are all about 3/4. I believe that they all cost 3 energy, with the idea being this is going to be your turn 6 play. You're going to play 2 of these stones, or you're going to play 1 of these stones plus something else. Interestingly, like kind of makes some Silver Surfer cards. You could also Wong Infinity Ultron, and then you get 4 stones, and then you could play some of those stones potentially into the Wong location. However, there's some stones that give you incentive to play them not in Infinity Ultron's location, like both of these care about the location that they're played to and which location Ultron is played to. This moves the lowest power enemy card to the location of Ultron. This adds a drone here with Infinity Ultron's power, so like a 3/6. That's not bad. However, you can make it better than that. Infinity Mind Stone doubles up, so that gives you a Wong. Infinity Time Stone lets you dump something else from your hand. And then there is also Power Stone and Soul Stone. So Infinity Soul Stone can, for each of your full locations, give one of your cards there +2 power. That's an interesting one. I feel like you probably play this as like your final okay. So Infinity Soul Stone, what you do is you play Reality Stone at a location. Reality Stone makes an Ultron drone, and then you Infinity Soul Stone that same location, filling it, and then it basically acts as like a 3/6. So that's a a way to get a bunch of power to a location that you haven't really committed to. Again, just assuming most of these are 3/4s, we can actually go through this video slowly and potentially find out exactly what the stats on all of these cards are. Let's see. We get, oh, that was so quick. Yeah, I see a 2 power. That's all they're giving us here. So without knowing those exact numbers, it's hard to say exactly what this card is doing. I also just realized I am blocking some of these stone texts. Hopefully that wasn't super annoying, but I'll just move myself back here. Now, this is the weirdest one, Infinity Soulstone, so I'll give you a chance to read that. Actually, I'll skip back through. So, are these any good? What you are basically paying for in some scenarios, like I'm thinking about Hawkeye Cape Bishop, which does a pretty similar thing. Though Hawkeye Cape Bishop is a little less random for sure because there's only 4 different arrows. Though there are games where you play Hawkeye Cape Bishop and especially Grapple Arrow and Acid Arrow are able to just win a location, just if you manage to get that arrow. Of these, well, Infinity Stone is kind of like a Juggernaut, which is fine. I might be calling all of them Infinity Stone. Space Stone is kind of like a Juggernaut. Reality Stone is kind of like a Brood / Mr. Sinister in terms of its ability to interact with something like Luke's Bar, a location that would, or Death's Domain, a location that would otherwise be tricky to interact with, similar to the other Reality Stone, so that works out somewhat nicely. Space Stone, yeah, kicking something out could be good. And then there's also some combos, like you can play Reality Stone after playing a Power Stone. Time Stone does similar things to the Reality Stone. Mind Stone is the biggest, well, so one thing that I was kind of getting at is when you have your stones, like your opponent's going to know what your potential stones are, but not know which ones you have, which can make it actually like really scary to play against in a good way, which I think is something that's interesting. Oh, and here we're seeing that Galacta can make this a double or potentially even quadruple dip. If you pump up the Infinity Ultron and then use Power Stone to double it, and then use Reality Stone to make a drone copy of it, you are then making an 18 power drone on the final turn. That is obviously really good. Okay. I didn't think about the quadruple dips here that are available. So how useful is it too? Because, so that's what I was getting at, is that in Marvel Snap, it's a double-edged sword for your opponent to have an idea of what you might do. Because if they know what you might do, then they might be able to play around it. But if they know what you might do, then that also might make them more scared and more willing to just straight up retreat. So I do think that there is some utility to this. My initial reaction is definitely that this is a fun card more than a good card. But I would have said the same about Agamotto. I still think he's maybe a little bit more fun than good. I mean, obviously he's good too. Does get some of the same splash hate. You're going to see Gorgon making it really tough to play, actually, because then you can only play one stone. Ooh, yeah, that's tough. That's tough. It's also just thinking like you put the stones in your hand and then you use those stones to give more pumps to everything with Kahori. It's probably a little bit intentional, but it's not like you have that many cards to your hand here. I would think this is not really... I mean, if I'm just ranking the cards for this season, I'll tell you, we are going Goliath, Hydra Stomper, Infinity Ultron, Kahori, and then Strange Supreme. That's how I would rank the cards coming this season to Marvel Snap. And so to finish it off, let's take a look at that card I just put on the bottom here, Strange Supreme, which I'll give it a little bit of credit for. I think there is one really reasonable interaction with Strange Supreme. So it gains 2 power from merging, and end of turn, merge one of your created cards into this. I think the answer is Thanos. I think that this card works out really well with Thanos. Let's see if that is what they show off in this video as well, or if they just show off some other random created cards. That was the Hood. That was an RSM card. Oh no, it was a Shauna card. I think it was potentially both. But that is not super exciting to me. But these are cute. Oh, these are the season pass variants. Cool, cool, cool. So I'm just double checking that there's no extra game mode coming out here, right? No, it doesn't look like it. I think that I'm just trying to get to the Spotlight Cash page. There we go. I think that the ultimate home for Strange Supreme, it could be useful in a Thanos shell, where basically every turn you're absorbing one of your... It does some nice work for you because Thanos creates all of these cards. It does hurt your Mockingbird. That is going to be the main thing that it doesn't work with. It also doesn't really work with Mysterio, but it's just randomly going to take one of your stones each turn and consolidate your power into one of your locations. But there are often times when you're playing Thanos where you just aren't... You don't like the stones. You don't like that they take up so much room on the board. You like that they draw you cards, that they give you a little bit of power, a little bit of tempo. But there's definitely some awkward stuff. You can probably tell my voice is a little bit hoarse after talking for however long this video is. Plus, I recorded the alphabet battles earlier today, so this has been a long day of Marvel Snap for me. And honestly, I think I'm probably ready to call it there. The main thing that I wanted to talk about with this video was just some of my thoughts on different acquisition or economy changes to come to Marvel Snap, and we'll see. We'll see how it all evolves and what these numbers wind up eventually being. But there's my ranking for this upcoming season as well. And then I guess the other thing is like setting your line as well. You figure out how you, here's how I would say to figure out each season, is, and the order that cards come out matters too, because Goliath being a card that like comes out early in a season. So here's, I did kind of want to try to break this down earlier. Forgetting what cards even came out this season, but I know Khonshu was one of them. So let's say for this current season, we have newest cards, favorites. Great. So the new cards that came out this season were... Is Isan from this season or no? I think so. Isan, Starbrand, Khonshu. I'm missing one, aren't I? Oh, and Firehair. So let's say of those 4 cards, let's say you thought Firehair was the best. And then maybe Isan. Let's say you got Firehair and Isan. You didn't get Khonshu and Starbrand. So now, new season rolls around. And this is all just hypothetical. Goliath is the first card to come out. You can either buy Goliath for 6,000 tokens, or you can spend 5,000 tokens to roll for a 1 in 3 for Goliath but your misses will be the cards that you decided not to get on the previous season. So 5,000 tokens to either hit Goliath or Khonshu or Starbrand, 2 cards that you already decided you didn't want to spend resources on. And in that scenario, you probably are just best off spending 6,000 tokens. And then as the weeks go on, maybe those odds actually improve for you. Maybe you're into Goliath, Kahori, and Infinity Ultron, but you don't want Strange Supreme. So then maybe you wait and you open up on week 5 instead. And now you have a 60% chance, 3 out of 5, to open up either Kahori, Infinity Ultron, and Goliath. And hopefully this kind of like brings up some of the interesting points that you can make, or some of the interesting like decisions that you can make rather with this new system. And then you're going to open up, it's kind of, there's some interesting deal or no deal sort of maths and things going on, because, and it's similar to Spotlight Caches as they currently exist, but after you've opened up one snap pack for the current Series 5 cards, let's say you miss. Okay, that'd be bad. You hit Khonshu. Well, now there are 4 cards remaining. You have Starbrand, which you would consider a miss, but Goliath, Kahori, and Infinity Ultron, it would all be hits. Now it's 75% chance to hit. Now you hit, you get the Goliath. Maybe let's say Infinity Ultron was actually like the main chase card that you wanted, but you'll settle for Kahori. Now there's a 2 out of 3 chance that you hit and a 1 out of 3 chance that you miss. So you could either go for that, or let's say you don't really want Kahori, but you were able to open up you were interested in either Goliath and Infinity Ultron. You went for it, you eventually hit. Now you just decide to open up Infinity Ultron for 6,000. So there's a lot of weird ways that you can play with this depending on which of the cards you want, when they release, how much you've kept up with it. And every time you miss makes it easier to just continue to try to roll and get that hit. But I think there are going to be players that like every time they have 5,000 or whatever it is, just wind up opening up packs. I think there's actually going to be a lot of players that first get collector series complete. There's basically like a sort of series drops without being series drops. Basically, there are now there's 3 different Series 5 cards. There's current Series 5, old Series 5, which will have significantly reduced cost, and then there's also Season Pass Series 5, aka Series 6, and then Series 4 is the same thing. There's going to be basically 2 tiers of Series 4 cards. So that will all make it a little bit more complicated to evaluate, and that is going to mean that there are going to be different ways that you have to consider when you evaluate those. I know I said I was wrapping up the video, but with all of the data, it made it like a little bit more easy to concretely be able to talk about this. And one thing that I was kind of getting at, in addition to what I just said, is like when you look at a new season's worth of cards, and I'm saying without the Spotlight Caches, with just the snap packs, kind of what you're going to want to do is rank the cards and then figure out where your line is, which of those cards you feel are worth spending tokens on, and if you are spending 6,000 tokens, that actually gives you a lot of breathing room, because sure, it's fun to get the new card, but it also means that there's no real incentive, if you're not staying collection complete, to not just wait and gather a little bit more data. You will potentially get a little bit of a rebate from like the weekend missions and stuff, right? So there's still going to be some incentive to do that, I'm sure, actually. So yeah, that'll be a consideration too. But I think that that's really it. I'm getting sleepy. I think I'm gonna hit the hay. I think there was one more thing I wanted to say though. Well, I've totally lost it now. That's going to be it for me. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you've stuck with it for this video so far, oh, it's just bothering me. Just bothering me that it's on the tip of my brain and I'm not going to be able to think about whatever it was I'm trying to say. So what was I talking about? Okay, time for bed. I'm NoLucksGiven. Peace.